For those who built their self-image through decades of work, consistent rejection communicates a devaluing message. The skills and loyalty that once defined them are no longer wanted. The discouragement mounts over time. For many, what starts as confidence erodes into a quiet acceptance that companies are unlikely to say yes again. The combination of stalled savings, extended unemployment, and mounting rejection shapes one of the hardest realities of being forced out after 60. The pathway back into work is steep at best and closed at worst. Employers may praise experience in principle, but when balanced against perceptions of cost, adaptability, and longevity, older job seekers repeatedly find themselves on the wrong side of the decision. And that reality isn't just about the money in their accounts or the stability of future pensions. For many, month after month of rejection reshapes more than finances. It begins to wear down their confidence, their sense of purpose, and even their mental health. Forced retirement, combined with the brutal odds against reemployment, becomes not just a financial strain, but a personal reckoning. The next challenge is understanding what it feels like to lose not only a paycheck, but also the identity and stability built over decades of work. The psychological toll no one talks about. When forced retirement comes sooner than expected, what doesn't get enough attention is the emotional strain that follows. The headlines focus on income gaps, savings shortfalls, or Medicare eligibility, but behind those numbers is another layer: the psychological toll no one talks about. Research and advocacy groups like AARP and the Financial Health Network have noted rising anxiety and depression risks among older adults facing sudden unemployment or early retirement. It isn't just about what people can afford. It's about how they cope when a central part of their lives disappears without warning. For many boomers, the abrupt stop feels less like entering freedom and more like watching a core piece of their identity slip away. Work wasn't just a place to clock in. It defined routine, purpose, and standing. A title like nurse, supervisor, or engineer functioned as shorthand for ability and worth. When that disappears overnight, replaced by a vague label like retired, the transition doesn't feel complete or voluntary. It feels like a loss. And unlike financial accounts that can be measured, this loss is harder to put into numbers. The change becomes most obvious in the small habits of a week. Imagine someone who for 30 years woke up to prepare for their commute, sit at their desk, and tackle projects with deadlines. On Monday, the alarm rings, but there's nowhere to go. At first, that empty day might feel like rest. Soon, though, days stretch without structure. What used to be time filled with colleagues, meetings, and problem-solving turns into a quiet that weighs heavier each week. The absence of routine doesn't register as extra leisure. It registers as uncertainty. This absence is not benign. Losing a job abruptly triggers stresses that reverberate into mental health. Work provides more than wages. It offers a sense of belonging, a community of peers, and milestones that validate effort. Without that, many retirees describe each day as drifting, not resting. Studies on older workers confirm that unexpected job losses correlate with higher depression risks. What makes it so painful is the feeling of being set aside after decades of loyalty, as if dedication only lasted until a balance sheet turned red. People internalize this in ways that change not just how they see their careers, but how they see themselves. For those caught unprepared, the psychological weight compounds. Bills, mortgages, or health expenses do not pause because a career has ended. Someone might have planned carefully for retirement at 67, but losing their position at 61 collapses those plans. Instead of rehearsing a gradual path toward stability, they are forced into a cutoff point with no adjustment period. This mismatch turns every bill into a reminder that the timeline they relied upon has disintegrated. Anxiety grows not only from the math, but from the shock of losing control over their own timetable. That strain filters into every corner of daily life. Stress builds at night, turning sleep irregular. Fatigue makes motivation harder the next day. Home relationships absorb the pressure. Spouses navigate tension around finances and plans. Adult children quietly worry about parents' stability. For some, irritability and low patience creep in, and what used to be steady confidence shrinks. The person who once solved problems at work without hesitation suddenly feels powerless in the job market, and that disconnect alters self-esteem. Occasionally, humor acts as a shield. Many forced retirees joke about how they spend mornings refreshing inboxes for rejection emails or learning the quirks of yet another online job portal. They laugh at daytime television filling the silence. But the humor is thin cover, masking unease. Even if levity takes the edge off for a moment, underneath sits a persistent fear. This isn't leisure, this is exclusion. Over time, these experiences reshape identity. At the start, someone may call themselves in transition. Months later, after applications yield no response, they begin to edit out parts of their professional history. They may avoid saying manager or expert because they worry it draws attention to age. Slowly, their sense of self contracts, shifting from professional contributor to unemployed statistic. Each rejection adds weight to that narrowing. The more diminished they feel, the harder it becomes to approach new opportunities with confidence. Another consequence comes through isolation. Offices are not just workplaces, but social hubs. Passing conversations, shared lunches, and small jokes tie into a daily rhythm that provides connection. When job loss severs this, the flow of casual community vanishes. Former colleagues move forward in their jobs. Friends who retired earlier may not understand what being forced out feels like. This limbo leaves many boomers not fully part of the workforce, but not comfortably retired either. Left in the in-between, feelings of loneliness grow sharper. Beneath these outcomes lies a deeper sense of betrayal. Decades spent with the same company often build an expectation of loyalty in both directions. When those careers end through dismissal rather than choice, trust is broken. The impact lingers, reshaping how people relate to institutions, not just employers, but even systems like retirement savings plans or government programs. A common theme appears. Once age turns you into a high cost, visibility fades. Many describe this invisibility as harsher than the financial hit itself. Ironically, what outsiders imagine as more free time often becomes its own burden. Days without obligations sound like liberty in theory, but under forced retirement, they serve as reminders of being shut out. Time that could have been filled with travel or hobbies now feels like empty space. For people who pictured retirement as earned freedom, this kind of sudden disconnection feels instead like relevance has been cut away. Research following older adults even indicates heightened risks of mental health challenges after involuntary exit, reinforcing what many already know firsthand. Analysts and advocacy groups now frame this as more than just an economic shift. They argue it reflects an emotional health crisis layered onto a financial one. Savings gaps are measurable, but the larger human cost spreads invisibly into identity, community, and purpose. Forcing someone out strips more than income. It alters how people define themselves and how they believe society defines them. Families, communities, and health providers ultimately absorb these consequences. What may look on the surface like a single career decision ripples through broader systems. If you're watching and worried, take some comfort in knowing later we'll cover practical steps that can soften the impact, financial and legal moves that help stabilize the shock of early retirement. This psychological weight is real, but there are strategies for reducing the damage when it happens. The key point here is that the toll isn't measured in savings statements alone. It appears in confidence diminished, connections disrupted, and purpose eroded. Forced retirement has quietly grown into a dual crisis, straddling both the financial and emotional. And for anyone who might face it, understanding this hidden cost is crucial, because the next challenge is not just recognizing the problem, but knowing where to start if it happens to you. What to do if it happens to you. So what can you actually do the day it happens? When the meeting with your manager or HR ends and you walk out holding a folder you didn't ask for, the choices you make next will shape everything that follows. There isn't one solution that works for everyone, but there is a sequence of urgent steps that can help you stabilize the shock. Think of this as a checklist. Concrete moves you can make that will determine whether an early exit turns into a downward spiral or into a managed transition. The first step is about paperwork. When a severance agreement is placed in front of you, do not sign it immediately. What looks like a standard form is actually a negotiable contract. Employers present it quickly in hopes you will accept it without question, but research and legal commentary are clear. You have the right to slow down. In fact, if you are over 40 in the United States, federal law gives you 21 days to review any waiver connected to the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, and 45 days if the termination is part of a group layoff. That time is not theoretical. It is written into the Older Workers Benefit Protection Act, OWBPA. Use it. Ask for a copy, take it home, and read every line. Do not feel pressured to sign in the room. Once you have the agreement in hand, look closely for waivers that strip away legal claims. Many severance packages ask employees to release the company from age discrimination lawsuits in exchange for payment. Whether you intend to pursue a claim or not, signing away rights blindly is risky. This is why even a single consultation with an employment attorney matters. According to attorneys at firms that focus on severance law, reviewing documents early exposes the hidden conditions, clauses about restricting future work, releasing claims, or limiting benefits. A lawyer can explain what is standard and what isn't, and even a short meeting can prevent costly mistakes. The agreement itself is where negotiation begins. Law firm guidance and HR resources alike emphasize that companies often have flexibility if you know what to request. Consider negotiating extra weeks of severance pay, extended health benefit coverage or COBRA premiums paid for a few months, accelerated vesting for any stock or options, or even outplacement services to help with your next role. Some attorneys recommend requesting a positive reference letter or more time to exercise stock options. The script is straightforward. Present your value clearly, document your contributions, and make professional but specific requests. Companies may say no, but often they agree to more than people. Expect when they see you've done your homework. After severance, the next decision many boomers face is Social Security. The natural impulse is to file immediately. After all, the paycheck just stopped, and the bills are still coming. But here the numbers matter. Claiming at 62 permanently reduces benefits compared to waiting until full retirement age. For example, Social Security estimates show that someone who would receive about $1,930 a month at 67 will collect only around $1,342 if they claim at 62. That gap doesn't shrink over time, it is locked in forever. Each year of delay boosts your eventual benefit. This is why experts urge anyone with even a small financial cushion to pause before filing. If you can bridge expenses another way, the long-term payout is worth it. One option some people overlook is the rule of 55. As Kiplinger explains, if you separate from your employer in the calendar year that you turn 55 or later, you may withdraw from that employer's 401k without the usual 10% early withdrawal penalty. The catch is that this only applies to the 401k from your last employer. Rolling it into an IRA voids the rule. For people leaving jobs between 55 and 59, this can provide penalty-free access to cash while delaying Social Security. Knowing this detail can buy you time to avoid the steep early claim reductions. Of course, retirement accounts should not be treated like checking accounts. Every dollar withdrawn early shrinks what you'll have later. That's why experts emphasize pairing withdrawals with major cost reductions. Small cuts in day-to-day spending don't stretch savings far enough. Instead, target large expenses. Downsize housing, refinance loans, or sell a vehicle. For some, this feels extreme, but these moves create breathing room quickly. Dropping a mortgage payment or unloading high-interest debt shifts the balance far more than skipping a coffee subscription ever will. Healthcare coverage is another urgent decision. If you are not yet eligible for Medicare, gaps in insurance can be financially and medically dangerous. COBRA is often the first option. It extends your employer coverage for up to 18 months, though at a higher cost. Sometimes companies will cover part of your COBRA premiums as part of severance if you negotiate. If COBRA is unaffordable, the Affordable Care Act marketplace offers alternatives based on household income. No matter the route, the key is to decide immediately. Allowing coverage to lapse even for a few weeks opens you to catastrophic risk if an illness or accident occurs. Another critical piece of the checklist is rebuilding some kind of structure. Losing a long-term role often breaks daily routines, which can compound stress. Setting a new schedule brings purpose back into the day. Some approach it like a replacement job. Wake up at a set time, dedicate mornings to job search or networking, afternoons to skills or projects, evenings to personal priorities. Communities and nonprofits offer workshops and training specifically for older workers. Using them keeps you visible in your professional sphere. Remember, forced retirement doesn't always mean nobody will hire you. Consulting projects, contract work, or mentoring roles are options if you remain active in networks. People who retreat completely often miss the few opportunities that do appear. Part-time and consulting income deserve a place in this immediate plan. While searching for mainstream employment may be discouraging, smaller, short-term roles can bridge the gap. They not only provide income, but also protect against drawing down retirement accounts too quickly. Even temporary work can prevent early Social Security claims, which, as we've seen, makes a lifelong difference. For family finances, transparency is important. Sit down with your partner or family and recalculate the household budget with realistic income assumptions. List the essentials: housing, healthcare, food, and weigh them against reliable income sources. Identify which savings accounts can be tapped and in what order. Using the rule of 55 first, then considering unemployment benefits, then timed withdrawals, can structure spending in a way that stretches resources instead of exhausting them. Here's the condensed checklist summarized clearly. Do not sign severance immediately. You have 21 days, 45 for group layoffs, to decide under federal law if you're over 40. Consult an employment attorney about waivers, discrimination claims, and hidden clauses before you agree to anything. Negotiate severance proactively. Extra pay, extended healthcare coverage, accelerated vesting, outplacement services, or reference letters are all levers you can request. Think carefully about Social Security, claiming at 62 locks in up to a 30% reduction. Each year you delay helps. Consider the rule of 55 for penalty-free withdrawals from your most recent 401k if you left at or after age 55. Avoid rolling into an IRA if you plan to use this. Secure health coverage immediately through COBRA, ACA markets, or Medicare if eligible to prevent gaps. Trim large expenses first: housing, transportation, and debt. Downsizing beats small everyday cuts. Maintain visibility in your field. Network, consult, or take part-time work to keep professional continuity and create bridging income. None of these steps erase the suddenness of a forced retirement, but together they make the difference between survival and collapse. They shift the story from being passively pushed out to actively managing the transition. And once those basics are stabilized, legal protections checked, income sources mapped, health coverage secured, the next stage opens up. Retirement does not have to mean the end of earning altogether. The question then becomes, if work in the traditional sense is no longer available, what other income streams might be built instead? That's where the conversation goes next. Alternate income streams in retirement. Retirement may cut off a traditional paycheck, but it doesn't have to cut off every chance to earn. For many older adults navigating early exits, the question quickly becomes, what alternate streams of income are both realistic and sustainable? The truth is, you don't need to reinvent yourself or build a six-figure business online. Even modest secondary income can cushion savings, delay Social Security filing, and provide stability that is otherwise missing. The focus should be on practical, lower-barrier opportunities that are achievable today. One of the clearest paths is consulting or freelance work. For anyone who has built up decades of professional knowledge, there remains a market for it long after leaving an employer. A former HR manager can advise small startups on compliance or onboarding. An engineer might contract for a mid-size firm needing part-time design support. Retired teachers can help local schools develop curriculum part-time or tutor privately. Consulting is practical because it allows you to set your own schedule and define how much you want to work. Importantly, studies of retirees show that these projects often pay at rates equal to or above what traditional employment might have offered, although usually for fewer hours. That balance, moderate pay without the full burden of a 9-to-5, helps cover expenses while preserving flexibility. Another promising option is part-time or remote-based work, chosen strategically. The current labor market relies heavily on flexible staffing, and companies hire for tutoring, customer service, transcription, and virtual assistance. A retired professional with good communication skills can handle remote customer support entirely from home. A retired teacher can tutor students by video call without traveling or managing a classroom. These jobs do not recreate the intensity of full employment, but they provide supplemental income, often a few hundred to a couple of $1,000s monthly. For many retirees, that small stream changes financial math significantly by filling gaps between Social Security and living expenses without exhausting savings. Retirees should also be aware of early withdrawal strategies available through their retirement accounts. The Rule of 55, as outlined by financial advisors and sources such as Kiplinger, allows someone who leaves an employer at age 55 or older to access that employer's 401k without a 10% penalty. Similarly, 72T distributions, known as substantially equal periodic payments (SEP), allow for early access to IRAs or 401(k)s under strict schedules. These don't represent new income in the sense of consulting or tutoring, but they are structured ways to tap retirement money early without heavy penalties. They can serve as bridge income that delays Social Security, which is hugely valuable long-term. Used carefully, these strategies reduce the financial pressure of sudden retirement while preserving more of the account balance. Digital income opportunities have also lowered barriers for retirees. Unlike starting a large business, these streams can be small but scalable. A retiree with expertise in gardening could self-publish a short ebook of planting tips. A former corporate trainer could design an affordable online course teaching presentation skills. Someone with a craft hobby might sell products through Etsy or a similar marketplace. Bankrate and Investopedia both point to these digital ventures as low-cost ways to generate incremental earnings. It's not about huge profits. It's about time-flexible income that adds $200, $500, or $1,000 per month. Consistently applied, even modest side earnings give retirees breathing room and slow the drain on retirement accounts. Housing offers another overlooked income source. Research from Next Avenue shows that many older adults offset early retirement by downsizing or monetizing part of their homes. A spare bedroom can be rented long-term or occasionally listed on short-term rental platforms. Parking spots or storage spaces can also be rented in urban areas, producing steady cash without the workload of a traditional part-time job. These small moves might sound simple, but they generate reliable monthly amounts that offset major costs like utilities, groceries, or healthcare premiums. For many, it's a realistic bridge that combines practicality with immediate impact.